Hi guys, so back to the red thread for today. This is going to be the last reading of this kind, or maybe the last that I ever do. So that's just what it is. There's so much that I want to share, but this space, the online space for this work is just not the best place for me to... it's just not the path of least resistance. There's some things I want to share. I'm going to make a video about everything I know about twin flames, and I hosted a course in January 2020 which was channeled and was called the Twin Flames Master Course, and I'm going to try and put that together into a package which will take a lot of editing because it's essentially over lots of Zoom calls, and try and put all that information together, or maybe write a book of that stuff at some point and get it out. But I'm out of this space, and maybe out of spirituality altogether, because I had the realization just today in the bath that I'm really in a space of what you might call twin flame mission consciousness. And as I've shared multiple times, all these people that you see working, trying to help twin flames or whatever, that say that they're twin flame pairs, it was always channeled through to me that this is not what twin flames do. Twin flames don't work with twin flames, basically. I mean, that's not completely true. I think potentially nothing is absolute, but I think there are some exceptions. But I don't think now... there's just so much rubbish around anyone that just is in a relationship calling themselves twin flames that it's too messy a space, and it's just not clear enough. And personally, sorry to bang on about my stuff because it's not really that important, but personally, I'm genuinely interested in my service, and I just feel and move with how I can serve all, including myself. And this work does not serve me enough, honestly, because I have two small, very young children that require a huge amount of my time and love and attention. And the wonderful consequence of that is that I've had to get very specific and aware of the best places for me to put my focus in order to get the most return. And there are so many gifts and ideas that are moving through me on a much bigger global impact that it feels better for me to work towards. And I'm going to make another video about spiritual ego, and basically that's probably the reason why I'm not really wanting to work anymore, because I cannot try to cut through the online space to appeal to spiritual egos. I know that kind of like most people that are in this space already or have stayed here and not in that space, but unfortunately it's just not worth the effort that I have to do to put into the space, because there's a whole ton of messiness and grabbiness and misplaced desire, honestly, and that is an absolute nightmare for me to navigate energetically. So I just had that realization. Anyway, enough of that. Fast forward that all. I'll put it on there that, fast forward until this timestamp before, if you don't want to hear all of that. But I'm going to be making some videos, like I said, everything I know, and just put that on the internet so that, it's there for those that need it. And that's as much as I can do right now. I've got bigger fish to fry. In the name of love, honestly. So here we go. Let's see what's going on for right now, for the last time, even though now's always forever, hey? So, let's see. Oh my gosh, if we could not... I think also one of the reasons why I just can't do this anymore is because it's just a repeating message, right? It's just one message. What am I supposed to do? I mean, these cards are like properly shuffled and used and Even to the fact that I kind of dropped them on the floor and picked them up again. I think there's a better shuffle than that. And yet, bottom of the deck, strength. Honestly, I'm bored. Are you bored of this? It's like, it's the same message about, I keep being drawn to the snake in the grass, especially when I'm on the red thread. Just watch out for the snakes in the grass. I think, again, this is kind of one of the reasons why I'm out. It's like there are too many snakes in the grass, and you're kind of like getting on with your work and doing your stuff and trying to just love everybody, and that means giving them what they need, sometimes not what they want. And there are just people trying to like, oh my God, I've got like a pain. It's like I'm not allowed to do this, I tell you. I don't know if I'm going to be able to do this reading. I just got a pain in my stomach. It's just like I'm not allowed to do it. I'm going to have to stop and maybe try and come back to this later. Okay, so I'm going to try and move this through. So I just took 3 cards on top of the deck, and I've turned them over, and this is kind of the message. And I think this is, you know, this is kind of like how when this card came out, I was like, oh yeah, that's how I feel. I feel like it's weighted, the balance is weighted in this space in the wrong direction, if that makes sense, in order for you to feel great. And this is kind of what this 5 of Cups is saying. Sure, you can always turn around and like be like, oh yeah, this 2 of Cups is here and it's great, but it's just so repetitive. You know, there's a couple of people walking away because they're just over it, right? And I think even though it's over, you know, like it's over, the struggle is over, if people don't know that, or if you haven't, you know, really reached your awakening space by now, then you're never going to get there. And this is one of the issues that I had with, you know, working with people one-to-one. Not all of them, but like so many are so attached. And I had this realization about what I'm now calling spiritual ego, which is like so much of what we call spirituality is really just built around give me what I want, make me feel better, right? You know, fill the gap. That energy is so all pervasive. It's just so antithetical to the reality of what it means to really live from a higher perspective in love, honestly. And I mean higher literally, as in when you're higher up, you can see more, right? Putting things into perspective. Not better than anybody else, but different, as in being able to see more higher. Higher perspective means you can just see more, put more things into perspective because your perspective is greater. So 5 of Cups is kind of like, yeah, we're over this. We're walking away, right? You can translate this into your own stuff. 6 of Cups is about reunion, okay? And look, what I love about these cards is they have these, so many couples on them. So many couples. And look at these extra flowers there. And look at the little cup has an extra lot of flowers. So kind of what's interesting about this is it's the same image. I can't remember on the card how much of the 2 figures you can see. Maybe it's less than this, but it seems to be very similar. Like on both sides of the wall, the same thing is happening. But essentially, there's a generosity in the 6 of Cups. Sorry, let me just get in a better position because I still have this issue with my stomach because it's kind of like not fair. It's really kind of just speaking of this migration from this 5 to the 6, right? Where it's realizing that, you know, coming into balance, realizing that constantly and consistently feeling this loss and lack is just repetitive and boring. And choosing the 6 of Cups, choosing union, choosing togetherness, choosing to understand it, then leads to the action that gets taken to move you into your mission. And really, this is, you can feel and hear the frustration in my voice. There's a stuckness in the collective space, which means that I can't move forward because it keeps repeating because people aren't really getting this. They're getting it intellectually, but they're not actually taking action from this space. To translate it kind of more basically, it's just saying there's a transition out of disappointment into union and togetherness, balance, moving into a 6, into the Knight of Wands, which is about action, going out into the world, taking your ideas out into the world, but also your spiritual, so to speak, creativity with that Wands fire creative energy, going out with your caravan. These camels here, it's a caravan. It's your tribe, but it's leadership. It's meeting people or community or taking it out there. And unfortunately, within the twin flame space, nobody's really interested in forming community around it. They're interested in their own stuff. The point of these relationships is to create community. Honestly, you've got to understand that marriage and union that is, let's say, created by God, of the soul, created by life itself, nothing to do with our ideas or what we think or what's good or bad or who we are, blah, blah, blah. That is designed to be the building blocks of community. And for having children, traditionally, and creating from love. This is just, honestly, how we're designed spiritually. And the reason why there's been such thing as kind of like arranged marriage, where your parents know, because who we are spiritually and soulfully is really understood by our ancestors. Imagine, I said this to a very close, beautiful, dear person that I've been working with who, is really, she knows who she is, but really, really an absolute angel in my life. And I saw her this week, and one of the messages that came through was about this idea of, what we've just been talking about. But I said, imagine what your life would be like if your great-grandparents and your grandparents and your parents had been spiritually, I can't remember the word that I used, not awakened, but aligned, what's it called? Realized and actualized. Imagine who you would be, because your parents would have known who they are spiritually and found their spiritual mate, so to speak. And you would have been born of all these spiritual or soulmates or twin flames, so to speak. Because that is essentially how it should be, that we are all twin flames and we are all connecting romantically in this preordained soul unconditional love. Imagine who you would be if that's the life that you came from, if that's how we were all living. That's the person that you need to become. That's the person that you need to know you are. That's the energy that you have to connect with. And I mean, that's where I live. And there's too much in the way. There's too much trauma. There's too much psychological BS. There's too much, real life, so to speak, as in rubbish stories that we've built, which, I live in those stories like you, but they have to be understood in a different way. We have to focus on who we really are beyond all of that. And is that challenging? Yes. This is what people call 5D and 3D. It's like, who are you in your soul reality? And just not holding that separate from quote unquote real life, or 3D as people call it. Understanding that it completely exists. And the more you allow it to be who you are, not trying to change anything, just knowing that it's who you are, the more it will, so to speak, become real for you and those around you. So it really is about taking the action, and this is really kind of what I'm wanting. And it's just too, this is so boring. This is so boring. And it's so present, though, in people. It's just, essentially, if I go into a space where I want to attract people online so that I can educate them, basically, I have to go here. And I can't afford to go here. It's not authentic to me, right? That's essentially, but also vibrationally, it's just, I'm so bored of it. It's not even a judgment. It's just, I'm over it, right? I'm over this. I'm over this, and I'm over this, and I'm into this, I'm over this, honestly. It's like, what's over here, right? Where's he going? I mean, let's have a look, shall we? But it's very, very challenging. It really is, you know. And I want to support as many people as possible. And honestly, I've got so many gifts and talents that I can support more. I feel like I can support more people by, you know, embracing those. And there we go, the clarity of the Ace of Swords, the victory. You know, the victory is here. So it's putting a really big, you know, thumbs up to all the messaging here around this. And that essentially, the reality is it's all done. You know, I started to try and get back into this because I watched that Escaping Twin Flames things or whatever, and I was just kind of so devastated. And some people saw that video. I took it down because, I don't know, I just felt like it. But people, you know, and there was someone commented, I think, or someone told me, or someone sent me a message, you know, if people are going to be exploited, that's kind of their responsibility, you know. And I get that, but it's still unbelievably sad how people's egos are being used and exploited, and how there's an incredible amount of energy, an incredible amount of money and resources that are moving through, not just within this network and stories, but like everywhere. There's an incredible amount of misplaced energy, misplaced resources. And, you know, I think by my putting my attention and my resources into it, it's actually not helping, because it's fueling something that just wants to be different, you know. Notice that this Six of Cups is like in the middle. It's the balance point. It's just the reality. You got to understand that twin flame union is just boring. It's if you're not in a place where you're over it, not because it's bad or negative, but because it's boring now, right? And I mean genuine twin flame union. I mean, like, yeah, you've done it, you know, like you've realized it. You completely understand. You're like in, and this really doesn't even genuinely doesn't depend on the physical circumstances, because when you understand your twin flame union, you understand that you're here to do this, get on with your life and get on with your mission. And there's so many people that are just obsessed by and obsessed with this, or whatever the correct, you know, terminology is, that if this has to be what you're selling to get twin flame attention, it's just a reflection of how little is understood about that. This is kind of like where we're at and beyond, like I said, beyond. And here's the clarity. This is the truth. Here's your sign. This is the truth. And I know you know the truth is here. That's why people come here. They're like, I just want the truth. Because it's channeled, as I say. It's just channeled and moved through. Everything is channeled and moved through. We're all channels, yes, but there are some that are just more greatly attuned to the messages that's moving through them, or they're messengers for this energy and these things. And it's incredibly powerful, that Ace of Swords. It's saying, listen to this. This is the truth. This is your victory. Your victory lies here. Look at the guy on the horse. Look at this guy on the horse. You're here to, like, you've won. Victory is assured, right? Let's have a look. There's the cross. Victory is, you know, done, happened here. And it's all about, you know, moving forward into this. You know what's interesting is that I obviously don't read the traditional tarot Celtic cross, but this is actually, I realized that, right, the beginning of that anyway, somewhat. And it's just interesting, everything goes full circle, right, and round and round. But the reason why I can't really speak of this anymore is because it's already done. And to try and give any energy to anyone that's like trying to do that, even though you can, because it exists. Time is all one thing. It always exists. There's always going to be people, times for you, me, anyone, where it's like, oh God, I'm feeling like this, or I'm feeling like this, or I'm feeling like this, whatever. Any tarot card you pick or choose, they're just here to kind of like frame different experiences and feelings in multitude of ways. It still exists, so it's still pertinent. It's still relevant, it's still useful, but it's not the most useful thing. It's not the path of least resistance for me. I'm in such a powerfully creative stage. where I must get my book out in the new year. Another message for everyone that's pre-ordered my book, which is called working title, The Master Keys. It might be called something else, which is just literally based on a course that I did in my online community that wasn't, you know, hosted on YouTube. That really was just channeling and moving through everything you need to know, you know, about reality, honestly, and how to leverage it or work with it to, you know, find yourself. That's something I want to offer. Like I said, I'm going to do a video about everything I know about twin flames and a little bit about spiritual ego. People need to understand spirituality and how it, and twin flame is another thing. These stories, these modalities, which really trigger and inflame the ego, or the egocentric ways of thinking, in order that it can be fulfilled and understood. But it can't be, you know, this constant inflammation is so tiresome. I'm kind of like, that's what it feels like. Anyway, let's just do one more for luck, and then we'll be out. We'll be out of the way. Nine of Cups, here we go. Another repeating card. Speaking of this, this is the message about the ego. You know, it's like you eating all the cookies is not going to make you happy, right? It's about desire. You having all the kids, having all the toys in the world and all the cookies in the world doesn't make happy, well-rounded, well-behaved kids. You having what you want is not, you might think that that stuff's going to make you happy, but it just doesn't. What makes you happy is genuinely service, but service that has like a fire up your bum. So, you know, when that fire is lit under you and you're like, under here, this is what gets me going. It's a creative, you know, space. I think, oh, there's a rainbow. There's a huge rainbow outside my window right now. Okay, I've got to stop recording to show you a little bit clearer now. Anyway, there's a whole video, a whole rainbow. Oh, you can't see the end there. The end's disappearing now. Basically, there was a whole rainbow going over across the whole of my window. You know, if you're looking for a sign, this is it. I mean, I took a little bit of video. Hopefully I've edited that in. So yeah, there was a whole rainbow just completely across the whole of my window from where I'm recording. And I'm just taking that as a sign, as we all should. I mean, the Six of Cups is really about that rainbow. But it's really saying that there's so much grabbiness and hunger, hunger that has been put in the wrong place, that has been the reason why there's been so much conflict for me personally around how to work in this space. And I just think that honestly I've been wrong, and you know, I've been here for a while and I keep going backwards because there's so much desire here that, and asking, and that I can meet and I can help. But what happened was I had the realization that people don't want the truth. They don't want to be happy, actually. They don't want to be happy and fulfilled and appreciative of the glory of themselves in their own lives. They want to moan and bitch about how hard it is. And honestly, that's just not what it's about. Not saying that you shouldn't be honest and address things when they come up. Like I said, this is part of it. But it cannot be the driving force. It will cause big, big issues. All right then. Thank you so much. I love you lots. And I'm going to make some more of those videos, like I said, and hopefully they'll be a resource for everybody on the internet, and maybe you can rewatch them, and you know, they'll have an energetic imprint that will be useful. But you know, there's so many amazing things that we are here to do together, and we just have to go. We have to get out of this. We have to get out of this whole BS. Literally, we have to move our way from spirituality, from these cups, from this emotion, from this feeling, and out into this kind of like spiritual fire, so to speak, and let it create, let it build, let it have powerful impact in the world. All right, love you lots. Bye. Apologies for my dirty window, but essentially a whole rainbow. A whole full rainbow. It's beginning to fade now, I think, just over my window as I'm recording.